Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to LP Tremors, where we talk all things vinyl and horror. Joined again by the one and only Peter Jones. What's going on, man?
Hello, Tyler. How are you? Great to see you again.
Great to see you too, brother. Yeah, so we are back once again, reviewing another Iron Maiden studio record. If you are new here to this little series that me and Peter are doing, we are reviewing and discussing every single Iron Maiden studio record going from 1980 self-titled all the way to 2021 Senjutsu. So given that this is the 9th episode of this ongoing series, we have Iron Maiden's 9th studio record to be reviewed, Fear of the Dark, coming out May 11th of 1992. And this pretty much marks the end of a short era. The unfortunate has happened. This is the last studio record with Bruce Dickinson until he shows up once again for 2000's Brave New World. He will be, replaced by a little artist called Blaze Bayley. We will get into him on the next video. But also another big significant change, Martin Birch. This is the last studio record produced by Martin Birch. Unfortunately, Nigel Green will be taking over the production table right on X Factor. So this is the last we will be hearing of Martin Birch, unfortunately. But yeah, given that, so this is the last studio record produced by Martin Birch. And given that, you have the same lineup as No Prayer, as I said. So you have Bruce Dickinson, Steve Harris, Dave Murray, Janet Gers, and Nico McBrain. And I should also mention, Fear of the Dark marks the first double LP of the Iron Maiden discography, and they have not changed since. And if anything, they even gone triple. So yeah, this marks the start of the double LP of Iron Maiden records, and 3 singles show off from this record. You have Be Quick or Be Dead, From Here to Eternity, Wasting Love. This album is very, very mixed. So Peter, I'm going to take it over to you because I'm very curious of your overview thoughts.
All right. Great introduction. Also, if you got your cover handy there, isn't this this is the first album not to feature Derek Riggs?
Yeah, no, you're
His
right.
Illustration. Yeah, that's not Derek. It's Melvin Grant.
Melvin Grant. Yep.
Derek submitted something, but the band said they were looking for something different and went somewhere else.
Right.
So, I mean, my gosh, there's changes everywhere here. I think it's a cool cover. It's creepy and kind of scary. It's got that horror theme, more like the first couple records.
Right.
Yeah, great cover. Well, we're gonna jump right into the first track here, and they're gonna fire up with "Be Quick or Be Dead," 321 from Dickinson and Gears. It certainly sounds right off the bat better than "No Prayer for the Dying." Bruce lets off a great opening scream, which gives everybody the hope and promise that, okay, this is Bruce back to being Bruce, but sadly it instantly turns into the Bruce I'm not such a fan of. And I'm like, this is not the Bruce I wanted to hear. Still raspy, more kind of shouty and screamy than singing. But we'll cover that a lot as we move forward. Lots of energy from the band, though. The track's really driving. A better solo section. I thought the previous album was kind of weak with solo sections. This one is definitely stronger.
Right.
Nico is Nico of old. He's thundering away here and sounds really great. And like I said, this sounds more like Maiden than what was going on with the previous record. It's a solid opening track that really could have been super spectacular if we'd have had the old Bruce on it. And the only thing I would suggest to our viewers is go watch some of the live clips.
Yeah.
Because he's actually singing it better live than he did here in the studio. And there's a little more melody and a little less of that shouting. But it doesn't diminish from the song, and it stands in the tradition of those great opening tracks: heavy, energetic, powerful, right to the point, perfect length, and they're off on a good footnote. So I think
absolutely, yeah. Be Quick or Be Dead. It's a very interesting opening track. And to tell you the truth, well, I should go back a little bit with given my history of Fear of the Dark, because I'm gonna try with this review to be not biased, because There is a lot of nostalgia being played with Fear of the Dark, this record, for me personally. I pretty sure I mentioned this in previous episodes, but there were 3 albums that I originally bought from Iron Maiden that I first got into and first really dove into. Fear of the Dark is one of them. So it was, I believe, Number of the Beast, Fear of the Dark, and also an album that we will be going over in a couple future episodes. But yeah, Fear of the Dark, it means a lot to me. This is one of the first records that I really dove into. So what I'm gonna try my best to not have the nostalgia in me talking, because I really, really do love this record. But a lot of what I'm gonna say is, I feel like it's very nostalgia based, but I'm gonna try my best to give an honest, open review of this record.
Nostalgia's part of it, Tyler. Timing matters.
It is, yeah.
Don't apologize it for being what it is.
No, you're right. But yeah, enough of my rambling. Let's get on to Be Quick or Be Dead. This is actually my favorite opening track since Aces High, I think.
Very cool.
Love this track. So aggressive. It just kicks you in the fucking ass for 4 minutes, however long this track is. Wildly aggressive, borderline thrash in a way. Like, I love these like really aggressive pull-off type of riffs between Janickers and Dave Murray. Absolutely genius. And this is actually, Peter, I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree with you. I think Bruce sounds amazing on Be Quick or Be Dead.
Fair enough.
I really like, he doesn't sound like, Power Slave Bruce or Somewhere in Time Bruce, nothing like that. He does continue like the rough around the edges vocal style he did on No Prayer, but I think it really works on this track, because this track is very thrashy, it's very aggressive. And I think Bruce's vocals really work here. Like, cowards and sinners and dripping with guilt. Like, he sounds menacing. He sounds aggressive. I think he just sounds so cool. Right. But yeah, like you mentioned that opening scream, that like, it's really, really cool. Really nice solos. Like you mentioned a little bit of the solos. It goes back to like a signature Dave Murray solo, towards, the instrumental section. Really cool stuff. And one thing that really, really takes me into this track or draws me in is there's a little bit of a melodic bridge of the pre-chorus, or actually, sorry, not the pre-chorus, the post-chorus. You go, see what's ruling all our lives.
That's awesome.
Who's pulling strings? So cool, so freaking cool. I love Bruce's voice on there. Really awesome stuff. But yeah, it's just overall, there's just a very fierce way to open up this record, and I can't get enough of this track. I love this track. And I remember when I first heard this track or first heard this album, man, it took me by surprise. It just really kicked me in the ass, and I was in for the whole ride. So
some valid points there, Tyler. And I think I can maybe amend or concede. I think part of what happens with Bruce here and moving forward, especially on this track, is that he goes back and forth. He jumps in, jumps in and out of the old Bruce and a newer Bruce. And that's where it kind of makes it a little more difficult for me, because he does start.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. And then he'll do snippets of it here and there. And you're like, just if you'd have just done the whole thing that way.
Right. No, I definitely see where you're coming from. But yeah, Be Quick or Be Dead is just a fierce, thrashy opener. And I just love this track to death. One of my favorites off of the record. But let's go into track 2. We have From Here to Eternity. Peter,
we do.
Take it away.
335, written by Steve Harris. I'm just going to be as succinct as possible here. I go, what the fuck is this? Sorry. I go, Bruce sucks. The lyrics suck. The chorus sucks. The music's not bad. It's kind of a forgettable solo section. And one of my least favorite Maiden tracks to date. And I will send it over to you because I don't have anything else here.
Holy shit. Okay.
I have nothing else to say.
So I kind of mentioned, just a little about a couple minutes ago that nostalgia is really going to be coming into play here. This is one of the tracks where nostalgia really comes into play. I love this song. I love the song to death. it opens up with like a very very Angus Youngish type riff. Like it's very simplistic, but it's just like little power chords going down the neck. Really cool stuff, and I really like that little guitar lick for down, following that riff. I think that was really cool. And actually, it's one of the first Iron Maiden songs I learned how to play on guitar as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, that a lot going back to the nostalgia thing, but yeah, there's great hooks all over the place. I like the chord progressions. A very simplistic track, Peter. I definitely see where you're coming from, though. Very, very rough around the edges. Yeah, Bruce's vocals, I think, again, they work very well here. I don't know if this is nostalgia talking, but again, I think I really like Bruce's vocal style here. Great gang-like vocals in the chorus. Usually, I'm not the type that really gets into the gang vocals. I just find it very cheesy, and this is very cheesy, but it somehow works for me. Like I really like the chorus. It's just very, very fun. Yeah, I really like. It goes into like a little melodic portion right before the solo. I really like that part. It has like this very like atmospheric little thing going on, and I think it's Dave Murray. He's doing these like little licks. Yeah, and it just breaks into this killer solo.
Yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed the music aspect of it.
Yeah,
and thought the guitar playing and that was really good.
Yeah. No, I definitely see where you're coming from here, and I think it is a lot of nostalgia in me talking, but I just have a lot of fun with this track. I have a lot of fun with this track. Lyrics are so freaking cheesy. And yeah, I mentioned the gang-like vocals. That's very cheesy, but somehow it just works for me. Wildly fun, wildly entertaining. But let's get this ball rolling a little bit. We're gonna change things up a little bit. Nice little progressive element to the record. We have "Afraid to Shoot Strangers," track number 3. Peter, take it away.
Very good. 6:52, the longest track so far. Again, Mr. Harris.
Yeah.
I love the intro. Steve sounds great. And I'm going to say in this case, while not the Bruce I fully want, this is much better than some of the previous things that he has done on the last album and 2 tracks. They're moody chords with more great playing from Nico. It's a little more formulated and predictable as far as when the tempo changes happen. And they do repeat a little bit much for me, but especially the up-tempo section has a ton of energy. It's really driving. The solo section, the first section, solo section to me is just kind of a bunch of noise, a lot of mindless shredding. The underlying rhythm part of it is great, but it's followed by this unbelievably cool triple guitar thing. And when I mean that with Steve and Yannick and Dave, they do this great unison lead section that is just so refreshing. And it's so nice. And it was really, really great. And my favorite moment of the album so far.
Nice.
And then we start to get into something that I'm going to say is a repeat that's going to happen moving forward here. These endlessly repeated choruses. Afraid to shoot strangers 8 times. I'm like, nothing else, just that.
Yeah.
Second solo section, much better than the first. And that's strong. And they return to the slower section and 8 more afraid to shoot strangers. So, I mean, I get it. You're afraid to shoot strangers.
Right.
Overall, there's some elements in there that you can hold on to and things that I found appealing about it. And I mean, after a while, you can lament and say, well, gee, if I'd have had Bruce this way and everything. It's kind of the same syndrome I had when Nico came in. I'm like, gee, if Clive had played that, it might have sounded like this. But that's part of reality and how we discover stuff. But I think it's a strong overall song, and for the most part, more than acceptable, and no real major complaints with it. So,
yeah, I'm pretty much going to echo everything you just said. I actually, again, this is one of my favorite tracks off this record. I think this is actually my second favorite off this record, to be honest. I love this track to death. Opening up with that really suspense-filled intro. You don't know where this track is going. Very atmospheric and very moody. Great melodic guitar harmonies throughout. And that continues on in the verse. Bruce is singing. And I think Bruce is like really, really top notch here.
Yeah,
he sounds very dirty, sounds very raw. But it's very different from the vocal style he was portraying in a track like From Here to Eternity or Be Quick or Be Dead. He is singing in a very rough way, but it's more of in a clean type of tempo, if that really makes sense. I don't really know how accurately I would describe his vocal style here.
No, that does make sense. I mean, there's a difference between aggression and raspiness or distortion.
Yeah, he doesn't sound he doesn't sound shouty like he does on tracks like Be Quick or Be Dead.
That is probably the perfect descriptor, right?
Yeah, he doesn't sound shouty. He sounds clean, but still rough and raw. And I think it does work very well here. And I really like what Nico is doing, in this verse here. He's not doing anything too crazy. He's just kind of kicking back on that drum kick. Boom, 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 boom. Kind of adding to that little suspense. It's very simplistic, but you know it when you hear it. And it's just like he's not doing anything crazy here. It's just simple drum kicks and simple snare. And it just builds and builds into that suspense. That is a really good touch. Overall, really nice lyrics. I do love the lyrics on here. And it is kind of like a portrayal of what we're going to see in future Iron Maiden records. More so in, the post-Bruce records, Brave New World and up. So yeah, it kind of gives you like a little bit of that sense. But really nice lyrics, really nice guitar harmonies. And I really like when it finally builds up and you hear that epic melodic guitar harmony. Like, oh my God, that is so cool.
It's a good riff.
It's a really, really nice riff. I just like it sends chills up my spine. It's a really, really nice, effective melodic riff. And then the song picks up and it really fires. And, Bruce is repeating, afraid to shoot strangers, afraid to shoot strangers. But, that's something we've heard in previous Iron Maiden records as well. Going back to like Die With Your Boots On. If you're gonna die, if you're gonna die, if you're gonna die, if you're gonna die. So I don't think it's doing anything new, but I think I don't mind it. It works for the song, and it would be a little bit better if he came up with a different line here and there. But overall, it does work for me. It doesn't take anything away from the song, but overall, this is just a great epic melodic track, very, very progressive, and a really good portrayal of what we will see in future Iron Maiden records. Overall, fantastic track, one of my favorites. And now we're gonna switch things up a bit once again. We have Fear's the Key.
5 minutes and 30 seconds. Bruce and Yannick. Great, really heavy opening riff. Very engaging right off the shot.
Yes.
And I go, oh my gosh, is Bruce singing?
Bruce is singing.
He's singing. It's really strong.
Yes.
This is a great verse and a great chorus combination. So it's not just one or the other. Both of them are really good and real refreshing. The occasional keyboard adds a nice sonic addition when it comes in. It's not overused. It's very targeted. And I think that was a good compositional decision. You were mentioning this is written about AIDS.
Yes,
and
it's a response. It's actually a response to the death of Freddie Mercury.
Correct.
Dying, a year prior to this record.
Yeah, I think the line that really kind of sums it all up. He says, "Nobody cares until someone famous
dies." Yeah,
and sadly, he's exactly correct.
He's correct. Yeah.
None of us are going to get preachy or judgmental here. But I was in the middle of bands nonstop during this era. And before Freddie, nobody took it seriously enough. And it did change everything. You're like, what? And, unfortunately, but if it enlightened people and helped them to help start changing behaviors, maybe that's the bigger lesson here. So,
right.
But it's a really great bridge and a really long sustained note from Bruce.
Yes.
And then what happens here is singularly unique to just this song on any Maiden record. There's a great heavy instrumental breakdown section, and then they completely change their feel.
Yes.
It's like they have never used that feel in any track on any of their previous records. It's something totally brand new.
Yes.
And Bruce sings over the top of it, reiterates that same "nobody cares till somebody famous dies." He says it again, but now in that tempo with another great scream at the end of it. And that is so engaging and so refreshing to hear. And you're like, something absolutely, completely, totally different that I had no idea in the world was coming.
Right.
And it was really, really great.
Yes.
Returns to the original feel with some really nice guitar playing. I think it's Bruce's best vocal performance since Stuff on Seventh Son. And I think it's an exceptionally creative track. And the heaviness and the impact of the lyrics notwithstanding, not that they're not important, they are. That's not my point. A great track and a really enjoyable listen, especially from a music standpoint. So I think it's a real strong track.
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting track, and I do thoroughly enjoy this track quite a bit. So a lot of the things I'm going to say, I'm pretty much going to echo you. It opens up with this really cool, almost like a Power Slave type riff.
Yes.
It has this very menacing, dirty, raunchy guitar tone. I love it's like it has this dirty, like it's kind of like a callback to Power Slave. That's kind of what I always got with it.
You're dead on. And the chordal patterns have that Eastern flair to them again.
Yes.
Yeah, you're exactly.
And that follows with a really nice slide guitar, and like that whole rhythm section is just really badass. And then that transitions into this really cool funk-like riff.
It's so heavy.
It is very, very heavy. It's very heavy, and there's a lot of funk influence there that I hear. And yeah, you mentioned Bruce Dickinson's vocals, and again, I think his vocals work very, very well. And it sounds very campy, like his vocal style here. We live our lives in fever, choking sweat of fear.
Right.
So it is very campy. It can come off a little cheesy, but it works very, very well for the rhythm section for what this riff is really going out as. So yeah, overall Bruce is doing very, very well here. But overall, it's very wildly catchy, hooks all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really like that pre-chorus, or that chorus. You can argue, I remember a time where we used and abused. And again, Bruce sounds on his A game there.
It is.
Like it sounds like Bruce. It sounds like Bruce again. And I really, really like that. Hooks, like I said, there's hooks all over the place, great chord progressions. And overall, it's just a very menacing track, but it's progressive in a way. And I really like that, little breakdown it goes into that you mentioned. Like I can't really describe it, but
right.
Yeah, it's a really nice,
totally different than anything they've done.
Yeah, you've never heard anything like this ever. So yeah, Fear is the Key is a very, very interesting track in not only this album, but in the whole Iron Maiden catalog. And it just feels like a very forgotten gem. And I really like this track a lot.
I agree.
So yeah, that's a little bit of Fear is the Key. Going back to like a Power Slave thing, as I was saying. Really cool stuff. And now we're going into Childhood's End. Peter?
437, another standalone Steve. There's a lot of standalone Steve tracks on this album, especially versus the previous record.
Right.
This is kind of becomes one of their new templates for openings that's moving forward. Big, heavy unison punches. The verses, that very familiar syncopation that has carried over lots of previous tracks. Bruce is very edgy, and and there's a roughness to it.
Yes.
But I don't think it in this case it's too offensive. I think the chorus is a step down from the strength of the verse.
Okay.
The solo sections start really promising with these big chordal backing from Steve on his bass.
Mm.
And I put in here, I said, this solo section was not so great, and it kind of makes you long for those solo sections of old. But back to the verse and the syncopation, good guitar melody underneath, but it does run a little long. And Bruce is kind of hit or miss here. A part of a phrase, it's really great, and then he'll hit a word or two where he'll just really snark it off.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I didn't need that. It's kind of a middle of the pack track.
Yeah.
It's not a standout, and it's not a failure. It's just gonna sit in the middle. I mean, I hate the word filler.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna use that. It's just kind of something's got to be in the middle, and I think this is one of the ones that just sits in the middle.
Yeah. No, I can agree with you. I definitely see where you're coming from, and I believe I ranked this track somewhere in the middle for me as well. But this is a track I definitely thoroughly enjoy quite a bit as well. It opens up with this great atmospheric intro. Like it has this very cool, mysterious tone to it. Really cool stuff. And it has this really, really great build up into this pretty killer verse. It's a very, very dark song, if you were to ask me. The lyrics that it sounds very menacing. It sounds very dark. And I have to respectfully disagree with you with that chorus. I think the chorus is probably the best part of the song.
Oh,
like I said, I love it. It's actually one of my favorite choruses on this record. No hope, no life. It's just so cool. Like I love Bruce's vocals here, and it's just like I love what's going on behind him as well. Great rhythm sections. I find it very punchy. I do find it very powerful. And yeah, it's just a chorus that you don't hear at all in any other Iron Maiden record.
That's true.
You never heard this at all. Kind of going back to like the Fear is the Key thing. Right. That little breakdown in Fear is the Key. You never heard that at all on any other Iron Maiden record. This track, it's kind of like the same thing. You don't hear any of this on like Seventh Son or Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind, or whatever. So it's very, very unique. And I think that's why I really enjoy that little chorus there. But the track keeps going. I really like the build up and great chord progressions throughout. The solo is kind of okay. It's not the most memorable solo, but it's passable. It's not offensive or anything, but solo, it's just very, very unmemorable to me. But yeah, overall, I just feel like this is a great, great number off this record. Again, maybe middle of the road for me, but still, I do thoroughly enjoy this track. But now we are really, really going to take a huge curveball here. Third single off of this record, we got Wasting Love, a ballad. Peter, I'll bring it over to you.
Another longer track at 5:46. Again, Bruce and Yannick.
Yep.
Wonderful, slow introduction, beautiful dual harmonies. I love that they've used acoustic in here.
Yep.
Not something you're accustomed to hearing with Maiden.
Nope.
And I'm just saying Bruce is finally Bruce in spades here.
Yeah.
Just an absolutely stunning vocal performance. It's emotional. It's powerful.
Yes.
It's dramatic.
Yes.
When the full band comes in at the chorus, Bruce is the star here. He's just sailing, in that beautiful operatic thing that he is so good at.
Yes.
Backing tracks are very refreshing, and they evoke some of the emotional feelings that I got when I was listening to some of the inner tracks on the first two records, Strange World, stuff like that. It's got that, it's different. It's that change of pace. It's not just, relentless in your face all the time.
Right.
And I said, one just marvels at Bruce's voice here. And I'm not trying to belabor this point, but what I put down here is I said, it's both highly enjoyable and kind of maddening at the same time. Because you come to the realization that the vocal choices and the things that Bruce has been doing are by choice.
Right.
His voice isn't damaged. It's not limited. He is making a stylistic decision. Yes. One I particularly don't care for.
Yeah.
But this just says, hey, there's nothing wrong with my voice. If he had lost something and this is the way he was, then that would be a whole different story. You can't fault somebody for what happens to them physically.
Right.
But clearly he can still technically just knock walls down. And I'm like, oh, that makes it kind of more maddening because I'm like, oh, you made the artistic choice to do that.
Right.
Tremendous instrumental sections through this, some of the better solos. At the end, great lead playing over the chorus. That's a nice addition. A lot of times they don't play leads over choruses. Right. I think it's an extremely enjoyable track, a great change of pace. And it's just a good reminder that Bruce is just one of the great singers of any era.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see him deliver this on a song that deserves it. And it works on all levels for me.
Yeah. I'm pretty much going to echo everything you said once again. This is a fantastic number and a really, really nice change of pace.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Maiden writing basically a love song. Holy shit.
Yeah.
How is this possible? But they do it so well. This is a great, great track. And again, going back to what you said about Bruce's vocals, Bruce is back. Like he doesn't sound rough at all. He sounds like Bruce, right?
Right.
And that it kind of goes back to what we were talking about when we were reviewing No Prayer for the Dying, where we were kind of questioning, is Bruce doing this on purpose? Is he getting burnt out? I think this is an accurate description of Bruce is just experimenting. He's experimenting with another style. He was doing it on his solo album, Tattooed Millionaire, which I find very nostalgic. But anyway, so it does lead me to the conclusion that Bruce is definitely portraying these rough vocals on purpose. But yeah, that's a little bit of Wasting Love, just a really nice, beautiful ballad. And now we are going to get into The Fugitive.
Another Steve Harris track.
Yes.
4 minutes and 52 seconds long.
Yep.
Very heavy unison band intro on this.
Yeah.
And it really gets your attention instantly. And we have to say that track sequencing also plays a part here because you come off of the ballad previously. This sounds like a bunch of sledgehammers.
Yes.
And you're just like, wow. And you're like, where in the world is this going? But then it pulls back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. I'm trying to see how they fit together. And I kind of feel like it really didn't match where it went into the verse. Steve is crushing it. His bass playing is just remarkable here. And so it's a strong verse, but I don't feel how it ties into rhythmically what happened in the intro.
Right.
The chorus, I am a fugitive, rinse, repeat. But like we said, that's their thing.
Yeah.
Bruce is better on parts of the chorus, but a little more difficult during the verses. It comes and goes. The solo sections are good. A great moody section with the keyboard underneath again, which again is just that nice little color.
Full touch.
But they get to the later solo section, and it's all about Steve Harris for me. He's just kind of
yes,
just being vintage Steve. It's well constructed despite the intro, which I kind of doesn't think fits the song. if that had either been changed or brought into a section differently, I'm just putting my compositional hat on. But there's good elements in it, and it's a decent song. Certainly not something I'm skipping or overlooking or anything like that. But that's about it.
Yeah. The Fugitive. It's a track that kind of comes and goes for me. I do thoroughly enjoy this track, but I don't find it as memorable as what we heard, before this track.
Mhm.
But it opens up with this very suspenseful intro, and you're right, there is some sort of mismatch between the intro and what you're going to hear in the rest of the track.
Right.
But I do enjoy the intro. It's very, very suspense filled intro, if you were to ask me. And then it follows up with this menacing yet melodic verse, very, very dark and heavy verse going along with it. And then it goes right into the chorus, and the chorus is very, very cheesy, but it's just fun. It's a very, very fun chorus. I am the fugitive. Like, it's
Right.
very, very cheesy, but it's very powerful, and you can have some fun with that chorus. It almost sounds like something, this whole track, it sounds like something that could have probably came off of No Prayer almost. Like, because it has that very fun, campy vibe that's not really taking itself too seriously.
You're inviting your drinking buddies over.
Get your drinking buddies over. Yeah, it's maybe not at that extent. There's a few tracks that we will be talking about that will get into that type
Right.
of campy drinking buddies game, but Fugitive, it's not to that extent, but it is very campy. It's very fun, and I don't know. It's another track that not much really pulling you in, I would say. I shouldn't say, and Peter, I'm with you, I don't like the word filler, but I don't know how else I would describe this track. But yeah, it's fun, it's campy, it's cheesy, but it's very, very fun, and I do have a good time with this track. But again, another track that just kind of comes and goes for me. Nothing offensive here, just not the most memorable track, if you were to ask me. Then we get into Chains of Misery.
All right. 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Bruce and Dave Murray's album contribution. He's got another one later, but one of the strongest introductions. I think this is a really great intro. Verse is solid. I love the addition of the second guitar part on the second parts of the verses. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
The guitars are great, but here's what I wrote, and it just, every time I read it, I'm like, yeah. But I mean, in the chorus, you get the chains of misery, and I'm like, it's accept.
It's accept, yeah.
Locked and loaded, balls to the wall. You're like, no, it doesn't
work here.
No, it doesn't. The halftime solo section is characteristic of a lot of what happens in the first two Maiden records, which is nice. I like that touch. Bruce is singing great. He's singing over the top. Solo sections are good. Really nice dual lead that stands out in this section.
Yeah.
I think Bruce kind of destroys the ending for me, but it's a better track than most, and there's a lot of good parts in it. Like I said, the ones I objected to are probably maybe small nitpick things over the course of the whole track, but otherwise a pretty decent song.
Yeah, I could agree with you. Again, same thing, like going back to The Fugitive, I don't find this track too memorable, compared to the other tracks, but this is still not an offensive track, but it's a passable track. Opens up with a very, very hooky opening riff. I do really like that riff. Very, very catchy. And Bruce's vocals, I think they're passable here. I think he sounds better on a few other tracks that we talked about, but overall, his vocals are pretty passable. Just overall, there's just same thing with Fugitive, like copy and paste everything I said about Fugitive. Very cheesy. Right. It's very campy, not to the extent of something on No Prayer, but you can have fun with it. It's not necessarily the most memorable track in the world, but you can just have a lot of fun with this track. One thing I'm with you. I can't stand that chorus.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't work here. Like, it does work with, bands like Accept or even like Judas Priest to an extent. Here, not so much. I kind of cringe whenever they go chains of misery.
Yeah.
And like, oh, I don't know about that.
Not their brightest moment.
No. But yeah, there is now. If I was gonna take one thing away from this track, there is a nice part of the song where it goes into like a really nice melodic bridge to going into the solo. There, it's like very, very melodic, very atmospheric. You just kind of have to listen to. I can't accurately describe it, but you're just gonna have to listen to it. And once if you listen to the track, you'll see what I mean. It's just a very nice atmospheric melodic bridge going into this solo, and it is a really nice solo. It is a really nice payoff, going into this little instrumental. But yeah, overall, as I was saying, track that kind of comes and goes for me. I hate the word filler, but I don't really know what else I would actually describe this track as.
There you go.
But yeah, nice track. Can't really say anything too negative except for that chorus.
Right.
But yeah, let's move on. And now we're getting really campy. The Apparition. God. Okay, Peter.
353. Harris and Gears.
Yep.
I just put I'm not a fan of this. The melody's weak and the backing tracks aren't very exciting. Steve's kind of the only thing you can hang your hat on. I just think it's a poor composition. But it does get better when they go into the double time feel. I do like the unison riff between the three of them.
Right.
And I like that there's some wah-wah.
There's some wah-wah
in here. You're like, hello, where have you been? We haven't heard that in a long time. It goes back to the original feel, and then they lose me again. A song that would have just been based on that middle section would have been badass.
Right.
Instead, it was just ass.
Yeah.
To me, this is kind of a look past. It's kind of it's a forgettable track, and something that really doesn't demand any real attention or focus from a repeated listening standpoint at all.
So as I was mentioning, I love this album. I have a lot of nostalgia for this album. This is one of the tracks that can just kind of fuck off. I'm just not a fan of this track at all. I one word. I only put one word and one line in my notes. Meh.
Yeah.
It's right. Whatever. It's just like Bruce sounds terrible here. It's a very awkward riff going along with Bruce's vocals. Do you see me? It's very
There's
awkward,
no feel.
Like mismatch. Yeah, I don't like it. It's just not a good tempo. It's like something's off. Very, very messy. I don't think the song really knows what the hell it wants to be. Mm-hmm. I don't hate it. Like, it's kind of like going back to like the Drinking Buddy game songs. It's like one of those, like, could have came off of No Prayer and just get your buddies, have some beers, and laugh your ass off, basically. But it's like, even to that extent, it's just like, there's nothing here.
But then the middle section is so different. Like, first of all, it doesn't even fit with the rest of the track.
No.
But all of a sudden, you're like, you're like, this is killer.
That's cool. Yes.
You like write a whole song with that.
Yes. Like you have it. Why can't the rest of the song be like this?
You focused on the wrong part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it goes into the soul. The soul is very messy, and I don't know. It's just a very mismatchy song, very awkward, and it's just a track that can kind of go fuck itself.
Right.
I don't hate it. It's just
what it is.
It is what it is. Exactly. Take what it is and kind of go with it, I guess. But then we go back to classic Maiden, Judas Be My Guide. Peter?
3 minutes and 6 seconds, Bruce and Mr. Murray. And a lot of times we've seen when Dave has more than one composition, usually the first one we kind of go, but then the second one we're like, whoa.
Yes.
And here we are again. one of the best intros, super energetic, a
Yes.
lot of power.
Yes.
Bruce goes in and out of the delivery style. One moment
Yes.
great, one moment not so great, but it's enjoyable. And holy smokes, the chorus on this is enormous.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love this chorus.
Yes.
Judas, my
My
God,
God.
was in the
The
night.
night.
Oh man,
So good.
super memorable, really melodic and strong. Great bridge. Also, it's short, sweet, to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with it. And I think I'll just leave my review in the same manner.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I love this track to death. One of my favorites off this record. That intro, it just kicks you in the ass. And it's just a nonstop. I love this track. I absolutely love this track. The
Yes.
album is back. It's back. You have a couple forgettable tracks and you have a really, really not so good track with Apparition, but it comes back with Judas Be My Guide, and I love this track. It's very progressive. I love the rhythm sections here. Very powerful chorus. Like as you said, that chorus, it sends chills up my spine.
It's huge.
Like this is the Maiden I'm talking about. I love this track. Very, like I said, very punchy, hooks all over the place. I don't know. It's just I love this track. I absolutely adore this track. Possibly I have to say it's probably my favorite chorus in the whole album, on this whole album. I love this track. Yeah. And there, like I said, I don't know what else to add. There's hooks all over the place. It's very, very punchy, and it's aggressive. It's progressive. And this is I think Bruce sounds amazing on this track. This is one of his best vocal performances on this album, if you were to ask me.
I'm going to throw this out there, and commenters, you can come at me if you want. I think the chorus on this easily stands right next to Run to the Hills, and it's right there.
Oh, 100%.
And if that chorus had come out, during Number of the Beast or Peace of Mind, you'd go killer.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Such a powerful chorus. It's definitely going back to those records, like Somewhere in Time, and it's an amazing track and a very, very strong curveball in this album.
Yeah, I was not expecting this, especially this late in the record.
You wouldn't. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a little bit of Judas Be My Guide. Amazing, amazing number, front to back. We're going right back into campy with Weekend's Warrior. Oh boy.
Steve and Yannick, 537. Horrible verse. And then I started keeping track. Just look at me now, 4 times. Someone will die, 4 times.
Someone will die.
A weekend warrior, baby, 6 times. To belong, 4 times. And then a weekend warrior, baby, another 6 times. And then I get to the solo section. I'm like, is this still Maiden?
Yeah.
And you don't even recognize it as Maiden until you get a small helping of dual lead. But the backing tracks are so toothless.
Yes.
There's nothing supporting it. If you build a big mansion on a crappy foundation, don't be surprised when the fucking thing sinks. The choruses are rinse and repeat. It's just a full-on head shake. I go, what am I listening to?
Yes. So if you guys watched our No Prayer for the Dying episode, copy and paste everything I said about Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, Hooks in You, go Holy Smoke, Mother Russia.
Right.
Get your buddies together, have some drinks, and have a fucking ball, because this track is a riot. It's absolutely hilarious, and this is why it is such a guilty pleasure for me. It's just so fun. It's hilarious, wildly cheesy. The lyrics are just extremely laughable. What you gonna do on Monday?
I know.
What you gonna do? It's so just the entertainment value goes way sky up with this track. Oh my god, it's not even Maiden, as you said. It's like I don't know what the hell this is, but this song.
I want my money back.
This song's a real piece of shit. It really, really is. But god damn it, it's so hilarious. I can't stop laughing with this track.
I love the fact that you can find the silver lining in that, man. I really do. It's just so fucking funny because I'm ready just to flush the thing for everyone. You're like, whoa, wait, there's some value here. You're misunderstanding here.
Yeah, exactly. It's like going back to like the B horror movie scenario. Like you can't take it seriously. Just laugh your ass off. Enjoy.
The guy's in the rubber suit going like this, but you don't care.
You don't give a shit. Why not?
You don't care.
But yeah. So
they're pretending like they're scared. Yeah. I'll buy into it.
But yeah, let's move on to the epic track, title track, Fear of the Dark.
7 minutes and 16 seconds by Mr. Harris. And this track by itself single-handedly keeps this album up in the legions. I believe when we did our Somewhere in Time, I believe this album is played more live than Somewhere in Time.
Yeah.
Because of this track.
Yeah.
I said this is where Iron Maiden permanently changes how they write their songs.
Yeah.
This is now the new Iron Maiden template.
Yes.
It's a formula that will dominate future albums, especially when Bruce returns with Brave New World. This writing style is everywhere.
Yeah.
The tapping of the hi-hat, the soft sing-along, the guitar part that gets the unison crowd singing. It's a strong enough riff, but they change tempos and styles so many times in this thing that you kind of can't latch on to one because as soon as you do, it goes off to somewhere else. And I may be against the majority here. This track drives me batshit.
Really?
They played Fear of the Dark melody, not even with Bruce, just the melody without Bruce so many times. I'm already sick of it. And then they do it again while he sings Fear of the Dark 28 fucking times.
Got a point.
I mean, 28. And I'm just like, oh my God. And it's a live staple. People wait for it. They go crazy when it comes on. But to me, the part that stands out the most is the very last line. Ooh. I am the man who walks alone. No shit. Bruce is gone. He's out. Wow. He's out. That's his last line.
Yeah.
And if you watch the DVD Raising Hell from August 28th of 93, their final live performance with Bruce, he says, "Good night from Iron Maiden and myself, Bruce Dickinson." He's never done that before.
No.
It has been a very good 10 years. And maybe you'll see me or them, who knows? But they grab him off and supposedly they kill him in the Iron Maiden machine, right?
Right.
This track single-handedly exemplifies the issues that I have with a lot of things moving forward, and I focus it all right on this track.
Wow. Okay.
I'm sure we will be more than slightly different here.
We're going to be very different here. So yeah, you were mentioning this is definitely a crowd favorite. Everybody goes ballistic when, this comes off in the live set.
Right.
God damn it, I'm one of those.
That's okay.
I'm one of them. I love this track. And this is actually my favorite track off this record. It's non-contrarian. I love this track, and I'm not afraid to admit it. This is just an absolute classic. One of my favorite Iron Maiden riffs, for sure. Like that, when the song picks up, that's one of my favorite Iron Maiden riffs of all time.
I would agree if you would stay with that the rest of the song.
But I like the change of pace with this track. I love the unpredictable moments. It gets very melodic. It gets very moody. Then it picks up randomly. It doesn't sound mismatchy to me. It sounds like just an epic progressive metal classic to me personally.
Maybe if I'm being even more transparent, instrumentally, I think it's pretty killer. But I can't get past the endless choruses thing, and by then I'm just ready to hang myself with a shoelace.
I see where you're coming from with that. Yeah, Bruce does get very repetitive, and as does some of the riffs. In
I can't
Fear the Dark.
I can't separate the two, Tyler. That's the hard part for me. I don't want to sit through the good part to have to get to the part that just causes me angst.
I've always, it could be nostalgia in me talking.
No,
like I said,
I think it's legitimate love. I think
legitimate love. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this track. It's just, I love the different chord progressions. I love, when it gets, I just love the unpredictability of this track. It's very, very unpredictable. It goes into areas you didn't think the song would be going, or you thought it would be going somewhere else, but then it takes a whole left turn into something else. I really like that unpredictability there. And I think live, it just brings everything up to the table. I love, it brings everybody together. That whoa. So live, I've seen Iron Maiden. I think the last time I saw them was in October. I think that was the third time I've seen Iron Maiden.
Right.
And it just blew my mind. Like I'm one of those guys in the crowd, arms around each other. Whoa. I love this track. And that is the conclusion of Fear of the Dark, the album. Peter, if I could ask, want to give a rating and your tracklist rankings?
Yeah. Just some real quick final thoughts on here. Yeah. Again, I think it's a much better sounding record.
Yeah, it is.
And, it's the thing is like I said before, during the tour, Bruce sounds much better on a lot of the tracks than he did on the record.
Yeah.
Some of the songs aren't poorly written. I think just maybe poorly executed. And then some are just bad compositions.
Yeah.
It's got heavy moments, but I don't really see it as metal.
No, not necessarily.
And maybe the need to categorize it is a flaw in and of itself. But it's interesting that the band that I started in Discovery in 1980, now that band is now long gone. Mm. This is a whole different thing. And as we proceed further, so here are how I ranked my tracks. My top track is Fear is the Key. My second favorite is Wasting Love. Third, Be Quick or Be Dead. 4, The Fugitive. 5, Judas, Be My Guide. Number 6 is Childhood's End. 7, Afraid to Shoot Strangers. 8 is Fear of the Dark. 9, Chains of Misery. 10, Weekend Warrior. 11, The Aberration. And 12, From Here to Eternity. Awesome. I gave this a 5.75 out of 10.
5.75. Okay.
Yeah, more than half the album is stuff that I can listen to.
Yeah,
there's some real dogs, but I found it to be a much better listening experience than No Prayer. And I've actually revisited Fear of the Dark much more often over all the decades since I discovered it in real time back in the day. So I mean, it's gonna sit in that bottom half section.
Yeah, no.
So that's where I'm at.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a massive upgrade to compared to No Prayer for the Dying for sure. Definitely still has some of those campy moments that you hear in No Prayer for the Dying, but the songs, I think, and the structure of all these songs are much better. The whole band sounds, more connected than, No Prayer for the Dying. So I definitely agree with you on that. And like I said, this album does mean a lot to me. It's very, very nostalgic. One of the first Iron Maiden albums I truly got into. So Fear of the Dark as an album will always be near and dear to my heart. But if I was going to go with my track list rankings, going from favorite to least favorite, I have the title track Fear of the Dark as my number 1, Afraid to Shoot Strangers as my number 2, Judas Be My Guide at number 3,
Okay.
Be Quick or Be Dead at 4, From Here to Eternity at 5, Childhood's End at 6, Fear is the Key at 7, Wasting Love at 8, The Fugitive at 9, Chains of Misery at 10, Weekend Warrior at 11, and my least favorite, The Apparition. And
some similarities and some complete opposites.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the fun of it. That's why we do it. And if I was going to go into my overall rating of this record, I'm giving this a very strong 8 out of 10. A lot of nostalgia here. It's again it's very near and dear to my heart. Very campy at times, but a lot of these tracks I've really, really appreciate a lot. Have a lot of history with a lot of these tracks, and that's where I'm at. 8 out of 10. It doesn't. Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think this album is better than any of the albums we heard in the 80s per se, but a strong 8 out of 10. I really like this record a lot, and that's where I'm at.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So that is our full review of Fear of the Dark, and massive upgrade from No Prayer for the Dying. Definitely a really fun and really interesting listen. So there you go. Fear of the Dark, our full review. Stay tuned for next week where we are going to be going over a brand new era of Iron Maiden, the Blaze Bayley era. We're going to be going over 1995's X Factor. So this is really going to be, this is where shit gets real here. But yeah, stay tuned. We're going to be back next week for X Factor. Peter, is there anything going on, on your end or anything that you're a part of?
Oh, always staying busy. Follow the links that you're generous enough to post in there, and keep liking and subscribing, and check out everybody's channels because we all kind of help each other out.
Yes.
And most important thing is, like I said, like, subscribe, but leave your comments.
Leave your comments.
The comments are the things that are the most enjoyable.
Yes.
Because I love, and clearly, folks, you can disagree with people and you can do it civilly. Here's a perfect example.
Yes.
We don't see eye to eye on a lot of these things, but nobody's raising their voice. Nobody's yelling at each other.
Exactly.
It's, you respect for what it is, and you go, maybe I should revisit. Maybe I thought about it a different way. And that's the beauty of it. But like what you like, and if you don't, that's okay too. So
I echo that. Copy and paste everything that Peter just said. Leave your comments. We are always reading the comments, and it's definitely much appreciated. So leave your comments down below, and check the description down below. As always, you guys probably know the drill by now. A bunch of channels of all of our peers are linked down below. So go ahead and check that description. And you are watching LP Tremors, and again, not a whole lot going on. Been keeping quiet for a little bit. Again, follow us on the X Factor from 1995. That's going to be coming out sometime by next week, supposedly. And we're going to be continuing all the way up to Senjutsu, as we have mentioned quite a bit. I'm still doing the Friday the 13th series. We're with my buddies Davey Gallagher and Ryan Gavalier, going through every single mainline Friday the 13th movie. And we're going to be going over Freddy versus Jason probably within the next week or so. So if you're a Friday the 13th fan, definitely be sure to check that out. And also, in speaking of my buddy Davey Gallagher, there is going to be another video on my channel that will be going up around the same time this video will be up. We did a full album review of the iconic record Billy Joel's The Stranger.
Excellent.
So yeah, that video will be coming out around the time this will be out. So if you are watching this video, that video will probably already be up. So if you are a Billy Joel fan, if you're a fan of that iconic record, you guys know what to do. But that's pretty much going on. That's everything going on my ends. And stay tuned for X Factor. As always, up the irons, stay metal, stay scared. Bye, guys.